This is the virtual presentation of the Kohala and Hāmākua Moku tract maps. This is for round 2 of the Beneficiary Consultation series for the update to the Hawai'i Island Plan. Diving into the land use designations, these 5 land use designations are homestead uses. These will each result in 99-year homestead leases. Yellow for residential pulls from the residential wait list. Light green and dark green for subsistence agriculture, small lot agriculture, 1 to 3 acres. Supplemental agriculture is large lot agriculture, over 3 acres up to 40 acres. Both of those pull from the agricultural wait list. Pastoral is large lot agriculture for pastoral uses or livestock, raising livestock, pulls from the pastoral wait list. DHHL Kuleana is a newer land use category. It's raw without infrastructure lots that are intended for off-grid subsistence lifestyles that allow for more choices as to how lessees wish to develop their lots. Now, which wait list DHHL Kuleana homesteading pulls from is up to the beneficiary input. There are 2 examples that I'd like to share of DHHL Kuleana homesteads. One is Kahiki Nui on Maui. That's the very first example of DHHL Kuleana lots. Beneficiaries in Kahiki Nui that participated in the settlement plan in EA identified this area as good for pastoral homesteading, and so it's DHHL Kuleana lots that pull from the pastoral wait list. If you look at Keaukaha Tract 2 on Hawai'i Island or King's Landing, the settlement plan in EA includes beneficiaries identifying the areas as good for DHHL Kuleana lots, but the wait list is still being decided on. It will likely be a mix of residential, agricultural, and pastoral lots. This next slide shows all the non-homestead uses. At the top, community use and community agriculture. The light blue community use, these are common areas meant to support the homestead. This could be like community centers, parks, and recreation spaces. Community agriculture is a newer land use category captured in the 2022 update to the general plan. Again, common spaces. These could be for community gardens, for community pastures. Red and purple, commercial and industrial, these are revenue generating lands. These are lands that are managed by DHHL's Land Management Division, and lease rents are revenue generation that go directly to DHHL's trust. The next 2 are newer as a part of the 2022 update to the general plan, renewable energy and stewardship. Renewable energy is exactly what it says, land suitable for renewable energy. Stewardship is replacing the previous category of general agriculture. General agriculture as a category was misleading. Most folks thought that it created 99-year homestead leases, but in fact, it was a non-homesteading use. And so for that reason, it was changed to the title of stewardship. The last 2, conservation and special district. These are for sensitive areas that require more attention. Conservation is typically environmentally sensitive areas, forestry areas, or preserves, but it can also be revenue generating. For instance, up at Humu'ula, there's a section that's suitable for sustainable coal forestry, which can be a source of revenue. So even though it's under conservation, doesn't mean that it's not valuable beyond just its environmental resources. It could also be revenue generating. And finally, special district in dark blue. Again, areas that require special attention. Could be hazard areas like a tsunami area or flood prone areas. Could be areas that need to be maintained as open spaces or greenways, or lands that have a lot of cultural resources like Kalai at South Point. Now, we're going to go over the tract maps next, and this is where we need you folks' feedback. I'm going to be presenting 3 different maps of each area. The reason why we're covering the 3 is because you should be able to see what the area was identified as in the 2002 Hawai'i Island Plan, which is what we are updating. I also want to show you the maps that we brought out in round 1 of the beneficiary consultations back in August of 2024. And lastly, I want to show you the most updated map based on the feedback that we got from that first round of beneficiary consultations. Starting with Kauai High, this is from the 2002 Hawai'i Island Plan. Lots of red and purple, which is commercial and industrial spaces. The yellow area, that's Makai of Konikule Highway over there. That's the Kauai High Makai homesteads. The yellow space is all residential area. You can see the Kailapa homestead that's there. There's also light blue, which is all the community use, the Makai areas. And then the bulk of that Ahupua'a is almost 7,500 acres captured in general agriculture. Now, when we came out in the first round, we got a lot of comments. Firstly, I want to talk about the areas that are in purple. The 39-acre section has purple for industrial lots. We got a lot of comments on that area. We had also looked at possibly expanding that should some of those areas be renewable energy. There were a few proposed sites for solar projects in the past. So we asked folks in those striped areas, should it be industrial or should it be renewable energy? We also called out the gulches, the big gulches, and put that into conservation so that they can have kind of appropriate conservation there. In the upper section in Inset Map A, there's about 300 acres that is hatched. That is a 99-year homestead, a pastoral homestead. The rest of that upper portion, 1,261 acres, right? That area was previously in general agriculture, but we proposed putting that into pastoral homesteading to create 99-year homesteads. That lower section that's in brown captures much of that area that was in general agriculture. If you remember, it was previously almost 7,500 acres. We've scaled that down to about 4,800 acres. That's in stewardship. Expanded the residential area. There's also about 169 acres. That's Mauka of the existing Kailapa homestead, where we're asking, should that area be extended to be residential or should it be stewardship? So it's striped either residential or stewardship. The Makai area, there's a 15-acre and a 5-acre flat space that could possibly be developed and have structures on it. So we asked, should that be in community use or in commercial use? And then for all the Makai lands, should that be in community use or special districts? So lots of questions in this area of what beneficiaries would like to see. And we did get quite a few comments. Based on everyone's comments, renewable energy was removed. Nobody was supportive of seeing renewable energy. Everyone was supportive of seeing pastoral homesteading in that parcel that is Mauka of Kohala Mountain Road. There was an area, sorry, I forgot to cover it in the last map, but that area where it says 273 acres, we asked if folks wanted to see subsistence agriculture or supplemental agriculture. There's kind of a flat spot that's up there that has a decent amount of flat space to put in some homesteading. The soils are good and could support agricultural homesteading. And so the feedback that we got from folks was for small lot agricultural homesteading, subsistence agriculture. Closer to the Kailapa area, we didn't get too many comments, but most of the comments were to maximize the residential area. That being said, a lot of folks are concerned about the water issues. We're going to dive more into the constraints for water in Kauai High in the next phase of beneficiary consultation. It's going to be captured in the written narrative of the draft of the update to this plan. So it's not easy to capture it and reflect it in the map, but do know that we are aware there are extensive water issues and working on addressing those water issues. Now, if you look at the inset map B, you can see there that there's additional space that is captured in residential. So there are lots that are along the harbor that had previously not been identified as residential homesteads, even though they are given out as 99-year homesteads. We're also informed that there may be a few other lots that are missing. So we're working on correcting that for the next round. And then Mauka of those 3 yellow lots along Kauai High Road, there's a 3-acre area that is captured because that area is a source of flooding that has adversely impacted those homesteads. And so we want to make sure that that's captured and reflected, that DHHL needs to put in some mitigation measures there to control potential for flooding and you know, those impacts on the homesteaders. All of the Makai lands, Makai of Akonipule Highway, both the lands surrounding the Makai, Kauai Makai homestead lots, and the area that is Makai of Kailapa Homestead is all captured in special district. It's about 91.9 acres in total. The 14-acre parcel in light blue, that is the current community space. The dark green is all of the conservation space. So we see a mix of commercial, industrial with the red and the purple, residential. The middle part of the Hāmākua is in stewardship, and then the upper portion has pastoral homesteading and suggested for subsistence agricultural homesteading. If you folks have other errors that you see in this map, or feelings about the types of homesteading and the types of uses that you see on this map, please let us know. We really appreciate your comments. Upolu Point in the 2002 plan, it was all captured in special district. When we came out for round 1, it was also captured in special district. We got lots of feedback that they want to see that in community use. There is currently a request, a land use request to a nonprofit beneficiary organization that's interested in stewarding this parcel. There's a lot of support in the comment period from round 1 that said they would like to see this go to a beneficiary organization. For that reason, it was changed from special district to community use. The next one is Pauahi. This is about 554 acres that goes between, that's Mauka of Kauai High Road, between Kauai High Road and Kohala Mountain Road, and then extends all the way up to the Forest Reserve. Previously captured in pastoral. When we came out for round 1, we also wanted to reflect the areas that are under critical habitat. For the most part, this is all given out in a homesteading lease. And we did get some feedback. Most feedback is because it's already given out in a homestead, we can show that there's critical habitat here along these certain areas, but no changes to the land use because it's already given out in a long-term land disposition. There is this little 1-acre sliver that is unaccounted for. If folks have comments on what that little 1-acre parcel could be used for, currently we're suggesting that it also be for pastoral use, but folks are welcome to chime in with other mana'o. This is Keoniki. Keoniki is Mauka of Kauai High Road. You can see the split here between Kauai High and Kohala Mountain Road. So there's a little finger that connects to Kohala Mountain Road and then goes up into these large parcels, all for pastoral homesteading. Now, when we came out previously, you can see the hatch marks. The hatch marks show the areas that are already captured in 99-year homestead leases, but there's a large swath of critical habitats. We did get a good amount of comments from folks. Some was that the homestead disposition didn't fully capture the areas that are given out. Again, we're showing the critical habitat but not changing any of that land use designation because it's already, for the most part, given out. There are a couple lots that have not been awarded yet, but otherwise this is all under pastoral homesteading. Lala Milo, it shows this little, the areas that are kind of already developed for homesteadings. Yellow is all residential. There's some purple for industrial, red for commercial, and then the blue areas are community use. Now, when we came out with round 1 back in August, we wanted to better capture the conservation areas. There are conservation areas that are on here. Unfortunately, the hatching was incorrect, so we had to fix some of this hatching. The only area that's hatched is the residential area that's already been given out. We also wanted to capture the special district areas, which shows areas that are in flood-prone spaces. And then where the 20 acres are of industrial that's surrounding the dump on that road, and then the little electrical station. So we did get a lot of comments here. We were able to fix the hatching. So the hatching just shows the existing homesteads that are already completed. There's some infrastructure that was done on Mo'oluhi Street, Makole Street, Mahoi Street, and Ho'olulu Street, but that has yet to be fully developed. Only the infrastructure was done over there. And then this community spaces, the blue space, and then the industrial purple space is meant to help buffer some of those other non-homesteading uses in that area. The dark blue captures areas that are in flood-prone spaces, about 26 acres of special district. Otherwise, the bulk of this area is identified for residential, homestead residential, about 171 acres in total. Okay. 2002 plan. This is for Pu'ukapu. This shows in the main map the Pu'ukapu pastoral lots. It also shows the areas that are on the Kohala mountain side of the highway. The areas that are in here, it shows general agriculture, pastoral, conservation. Also blue as community uses. The inset map shows community uses, the two residential areas in yellow, also the ag lots, supplemental ag lots, and then the pastoral lots. And then the purple striped area is the special district area. Used to be a pastoral homestead, but that's where there's a pu'u. That was like a cinder quarry, but it has the creeping nene, one of our native plants in that space. Okay, when we came out for round one, we were looking at a few different things. So in the large map, you can see we asked about that 200-acre where the pu'u was, where the creeping nene is. Asked should that be in pastoral and be kind of trimmed down more to just that area where the pu'u is, that's in stewardship or in conservation. We asked about in inset map A, there's a section that's under critical habitats. We asked if that area should be changed to conservation to reflect the critical habitat. In inset map B, that's where the district office is located. We asked, should that area be commercial? The other district offices on the other islands are reflected as commercial. So we asked, should it be commercial or should it be blue, which is community use? There's a flood-prone area that's Hāmākua of it, and so we have that suggested for special district. Inset map C shows some conservation space, some community space, and that's all surrounding the homestead residential that's there. Okay, we got a lot of comments on this, mostly that the district office area should call out the preschool, the KS preschool, and that should be reflected. It's in a long-term land disposition, so we have that fixed with the hatching and under community use. We didn't get any comments on whether the district office area and the preschool should be in community use or commercial use, so please weigh in on that. We also didn't get any comments on inset map A, whether or not we should carve out the critical habitat spaces and take that out of pastoral homesteading and into conservation. Otherwise, we did get some comments on that 200-acre parcel in the Pu'ukapu pastoral, and it's reflected in special district because it is a sensitive area with the pu'u and with the creeping nene that's there. For Moku and Kapulena, now what we did on these maps so that you could see This is the edge, this dark shaded area, that's the other homestead lands. So in the bottom left corner, that's the edge of the Pu'ukapu lands, and then Pu'upulehu, the residential subdivision over there. You can see where this Kamoku Kapulena space, it encircles um, the other homestead. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next map. But here you can see for this tract, it's mostly all pastoral homesteading except for a section up at the top, 441 acres in general agriculture. Okay, when we came out for round one, we wanted to show here all the areas that are captured in 99-year homestead leases. So majority of this is all leased out. It's just the ones that are on the Makai side of Mamalohoa Highway that there are some vacant pastoral lots. And then that 441 acre parcel, we had that striped in conservation or stewardship and asked folks, do you want to see that in conservation or do you want to see that in stewardship? We got a few comments on this area. One is to improve the maps. Folks wanted to be able to better see how this parcel surrounds the other parcels. So you can see that this one kind of wraps around the Waikoloa Waialeale parcel. It abuts Honokaia, which then abuts Nienie. And you can see Pu'ukapu and Pu'upulehu in the corner over there. So in the upper portion here, we are suggesting that there's a small 20-acre parcel that's in the Hāmākua Forest Reserve area, and that be captured in conservation. We didn't get any comments on this 441-acre parcel, so we'd love to hear, do you folks want to see that in conservation, or would you rather see that in stewardship? Next, this is the Waikoloa Waialeale tract that's encircled by Kamoku Kapulena, adjacent to Honokaia, nearby the Pu'ukapu Pastoral, Pu'upulehu Residential, and close to Nienie as well. So in the 2002 plan, all of these parcels were pastoral. It's about 1,200 acres of pastoral lots. When we came out in August, you can see the hatched areas are the lots that have already been awarded. The rest, as far as we could tell, were not awarded. We didn't make any changes. They're all still in pastoral homesteading. Our updated map, again, it better shows folks how these spaces interact, that this Waikoloa Waialeale tract is encircled by Kamoku Kapulena tract. You can also see its distance from Honokaia and Nienie. And if folks have any comments about this area being anything other than pastoral homesteading, please let us know. Honokaia, this is from the 2002 plan. Yellow is residential, blue is community space, red is commercial. The teal hatching is pastoral, and the light green swath through the center is subsistence agriculture. And then the areas that have the bold lines, that was meant to be subsistence agriculture but was converted to pastoral. So in round one, all of those areas that were converted to pastoral, you can see reflected as pastoral homesteading here. The hatching is meant to show all of the areas that are given out in 99-year homesteads. You can see subsistence agriculture straight through the center. Most of the area is pastoral homesteading. There's an area that's closest to the highway that's residential, area for commercial, area for community use. And then there's 145 acre that's striped as residential or subsistence. We are asking what folks would like to see there. Then the area that is Makai, or north of Mamalohoa Highway, could be pastoral or residential. So we're asking what folks would like to see there. We did get a good amount of comments, mostly wanting to better be able to see where Honokaia is situated in relation to the other homestead lands. We got a lot of in-person comments about certain errors in the hatching. So again, we know that there's probably about 30 to 50 lots that are on the whole island. So out of all 120,000 acres, there's about 30 to 50 of those lots that are given out in 99-year homestead leases that we might not have captured in the hatching for this. And mostly it's because we're having to convert hard copy paper copies into the TMKs in the GIS mapping program. Anyways, so lots of folks were very gracious and shared with us their parcels in Honokaʻia that should be hatched and are not hatched. We also got some comments about this 145-acre parcel as well, and we mostly have not gotten too many comments about that 90-acre parcel. Should it be residential or should it be pastoral? We'd love to hear more information about that. Part of that 145-acre, we understand, is actually under a 99-year homestead. We also heard some comments from folks about potentially needing more space for community use, and it would be small parcels that would capture like a standpipe or a water fill station. So again, that was some of the preliminary comments that we got. So if you folks have more comments on that, please expand upon it. We're very interested in hearing that mana'o. Next is Nie from the 2002 plan. Most of it's all pastoral homesteading with that upper section captured in general agriculture. When we came out with the first round, we showed all the vacant lots in pastoral. We also looked at that upper area that was previously in general agriculture and said, well, actually, there's about 325 acres of that that could be used for pastoral homesteading. That's outside of that heavily forested reserve area. And then for the heavily forested area, 606 acres, we're asking, should it be conservation or should it be stewardship? We didn't get any comments on whether it should be conservation or stewardship. We did get some thumbs ups about the 325 acres, that being changed from general agriculture and put into pastoral homesteading. But if you guys have mana'o about that striped area, if you could let us know, do you want that to be conservation or stewardship? If you look at aerial photos, it's very heavily forested, similar to the Hāmākua Forest Reserve, those different parcels that are up there. So that's why it's called out and not put into pastoral homesteading. Waimanu in the 2002 island plan, it's about 200 acres along the floor of Waimanu Valley, all in conservation. We came out with round one, we left it alone, all in conservation. The comments that we got from folks were good, keep it all in conservation. There's a parcel in Honoka'a. It's a new land acquisition. Folks wanted that to be included in this, even though I believe that land acquisition is still in progress. So it was purchased with Act 279 funding. It's proposed for residential uses, and the previous developer had identified 296 single-family homes could be developed there. The road that goes straight through it is the highway, and the little kind of circled building that's just off the highway, that is Tex Drive-In, so it's right there by Tex Drive-In, and then around the park spaces, that's over there. Okay, so again, not a part of the 2002 island plan, so it wasn't designated. We came out with the first round. Okay, so here you can see the park space, you can see Tex Drive-In is called out, you can see Mamalohoa Highway. Lots of questions. The dark area, about 7.3 acres, this is all area that's low or steep and prone to flooding. So that was all captured in special district. There's about 4 acres here in the center that might be good for homestead community space. The rest of the parcels, 5 acres, 19 acres, 11 acres, we asked, do folks want to see residential or do they want to see subsistence agriculture? Got a lot of comments in this area. Folks wanted to see mostly residential homesteading. 19 acres here, 11 acres here. There have been some concerns about lot size. So please weigh in on what you folks think is an appropriate lot size for the residential homesteads. A lot of the newer homesteads, especially the ones in Kealakekela, Iopua, are 5,000 square foot lots. If there are concerns about lot size for Honoka'a, please chime in here in this comment period so that that information can be passed along to the decision makers. We also got some mana'o about subsistence agriculture. So that 5-acre parcel was changed to subsistence agricultural lots. Again, folks can put homes there. They're not required to. That's small agricultural lots, no more than 3 acres in size. And then the rest of this area, the low areas and the areas prone to flooding, are still in special district with about 4 acres of community space right there in the center. Comments about the community space, the size of that would be really helpful. Is 4 acres sufficient? Is 4 acres too big? Should that be a mix of community use and community agriculture? Please tell us what your thoughts are. Talking about Ainamana Legacy lands. Okay, this is Upper Pi'ihonua, over 7,000 acres previously captured in general agriculture in the 2002 Island Plan. That parcel touches the large Humu'ula parcels. That's a mix of general agriculture at almost 16,000 acres, conservation at over 17,000 acres, teal striping for pastoral at about 9,000 acres, special district is almost 6,000 acres, and then a long section of community use and a big square of about 50 acres of commercial. Okay. When we came out in the first round, we captured mostly everything in conservation and pastoral homesteading because that was our interpretation of the Ainamana Legacy Plan. There's also 789 acres that's hatched as the existing pastoral homestead leases that are there on the Mauna. We got a lot of comments. Folks wanted to see more of the 2002 Island Plan as well as more detailed interpretation from the Ainamana Legacy Plan reflected in the land use designations for here, okay? In the center, the 5,171 acres, that area is suitable for pastoral homesteading. However, that's where the abundance of gorse is located, and homesteaders said they do not feel comfortable with that being given out in 99-year homestead leases until the gorse is more under control. So until that time, it should be in special district and the responsibility of the department to work on stewarding that area and remediating that area. Now, if you look, there are 2 big sections of orange. That is DHHL Kuleana, a 1,343 acre parcel, 1,895 acre parcel. Now, these 2 areas were identified as initial homesteading areas in the Ainamana Legacy Plan. And so important that folks ask that these be kind of brought back into the plan. They're put under DHHL Kuleana because there are a lot of constraints for infrastructure up there. And what folks were saying is that it's taking too long. It's taking too long for the homesteads to be developed, and they want to just be given the land here. And so for that reason, the guidance that we got was for DHHL Kuleana to try to expedite the homesteading process in this area. In the inset map, 665 acres in dark blue under special district. Why is that there? That's the area on the Mauna Kea side of Saddle Road. If you look at aerial photos, or if you're familiar with this area, you'll see that it's all lava rock. And folks said it's not fair for the lava rock areas to be put into homestead awards. And so that should be carved out. And so for that reason, we carved out that whole area that's all lava flow and put it into special district. Now, if you look at the intersection of Saddle Road in the inset map, Saddle Road and then Kiana Kolu or Mauna Kea Access Road or the Alakupuna, that has 2 parcels on there. In the 2002 plan, that was captured as about 50 acres of commercial. Now, folks did say that they wanted that space back. The input that we heard is that is a good location right along Saddle Road. That could be a good source of revenue. There could be a gas station and convenience store, rest stop, and kind of other types of commercial revenue generating uses. However, one of the biggest mana'o that we got was that it shouldn't all be under red commercial, which is managed by DHHL's land management department, where revenue goes straight to the trust. There's an example of Ho'omaka Marketplace in Kapolei, that is a community commercial parcel. It was developed with a Long's Drugstore, Chick-fil-A. There's a convenience store and gas station, and there's going to be some more retail spaces like a strip mall that's designed there. That is under a long-term land disposition to Kapolei Community Development Corporation. That's a beneficiary organization, and the leadership for Kapolei Community Development Corporation is made up of the leaders of all the homestead associations there in Kapolei. So all the revenue from Ho'omaka Marketplace does not go to DHHL, to the trust. It actually goes to KCDC. It's their revenue generation, and that is what supports their programs and the development of their community spaces. So that model is what folks were discussing, beneficiaries were discussing. They would like to see something similar to that. That's the reason why that almost 50-acre parcel was carved in half, with 27 acres of that going to community use and 21 acres of it going to commercial use. If folks have more mana'o about the types of homesteading, or also if you want to weigh in on which wait list, if you're supportive of the DHHL Kuleana homesteading parcels being up there, which wait list should they pull from? The 1,895 acre area is pretty decent slopes, would be pretty good for pastoral. Are folks supportive of that? Does that sound good? The 1,343 acres, that could be pastoral. It might also be able to be agricultural, especially in the areas where there's the rain band. Do you want to see residential up there somewhere? Please weigh in. We would like to hear what you have to say. Next steps. If you have a smartphone, you can hover your camera app over the QR code. It'll take you to this website. The website is going to tell you the comment period and explain all the different ways that you can participate in the comment period. These are all proposed draft land uses. We want to hear from you folks. If you see errors, please let us know. If you see things that you think is not a good fit, please let us know. It's not set in stone. We're going to be coming back out again in the fall with more revisions based on you folks' input. So please do not be shy with your input. Please be generous. We are really hoping to hear from you folks. Mahalo nui.